Hello, and welcome to Technical Tips for Legal Writing. In this series, I show you how we can use built-in features of Microsoft Word to focus less on the little technical details and focus more on producing compelling analysis and arguments. These videos are primarily made for law students, but anyone interested in making Microsoft Word work for you will probably find them interesting. With that, let's move to today's topic. Let's start with our problem. The problem, as you can see here, is that Microsoft Word doesn't always catch mistakes that our teachers or supervisors will catch. This is because Microsoft Word is designed to check for grammar across a wide variety of different uses and contexts, but our legal reader is typically expecting only writing which conforms with legal uses and contexts. This means that we may have to configure some of the grammar settings in Microsoft Word in order to meet the expectations of our reader. Some of these settings are turned on by default, but just in case they're turned off on your computer, I've turned off many of them here so we can see how to turn them on. So, our problem statement. How can we have Microsoft Word check for specific types of issues or ignore certain types of issues in its grammar check so we can focus less on mechanics and more on the substance of our writing? Our solution: grammar and refinement settings in Microsoft Word. By using grammar settings, we can tell Microsoft Word whether we want to enforce one space or two after a period, whether we want to have punctuation inside or outside of quotation marks, whether we want to mandate the Oxford comma, whether we might want to check for language that might indicate bias, plus a huge variety of other issues. But as we'll discuss at the very end, no grammar check, including Microsoft Word, is perfect, and there's no combination of settings which will catch every single issue. But customizing our settings helps us to adapt to new circumstances, like working for a two-spacer after a lifetime of being a one-spacer. The instructions are almost identical for Microsoft Windows and Macintosh operating systems. For Windows, click File, then Options, then Proofing, and then scroll down to the Writing Style section. For a Macintosh, click on the Word menu at the top, then Preferences, then Spelling and Grammar, and you will see Writing Style in the Grammar section at the bottom of this window. From this point on, the instructions are identical for both systems. The first thing I want to point out is this drop-down box. When Grammar is selected, Microsoft Word is looking for objectively incorrect grammar. By clicking on the box, we can change our mode from Grammar to Grammar and Refinement. Most of the options that I'm going to discuss today are refinement options that are turned on by default when you switch from the grammar check to the grammar and refinements check. So if you're looking for a quick, easy way to configure all these settings in just one click, just select grammar and refinements and close out. However, if you're looking for a way to customize specific settings to match what your instructor or supervisor wants to see, you'll want to click on the Settings button. As you can see, there's probably more than 100 different settings I could select here. I'm not going to talk about each and every one of them. I am going to talk about comma with conjunction, gender-specific language, gendered pronouns, Oxford comma, punctuation required with quotes, and space between sentences. Comma with conjunction will flag an error when you have used a comma between two phrases sharing the same subject. It will also flag an error when you have not used a comma between two phrases that have different subjects. Gender-specific language and gendered pronouns are part of the inclusiveness settings, which also include settings for race, age, socioeconomic status, and other types of bias which might appear in your writing. Specifically, gender-specific language will identify gendered words like policemen when gender-neutral substitutes like police officers exist instead. Gendered pronouns will flag instances where you have used phrases like he or she instead of more gender-neutral phrasing. Unfortunately, I have not been able to have gendered pronouns also flag generic uses of masculine pronouns referencing generic nouns like someone or everyone. Oxford comma will enforce the use of a final comma before the last item on a list. Emotions surrounding the Oxford comma tend to run very high in writers' circles, so having this option turned on is very important if this is important to your instructor or supervisor. Punctuation required within quotes can be configured to the American style, used in virtually all legal writing in the US, with periods and commas inside of the closing quotation mark, or the British style, with periods and commas outside of the closing quotation mark. Lastly, space after sentences allows you to configure whether you would like Microsoft Word to enforce one space or two spaces after sentences. For both punctuation required with quotes and space after sentences, you can also select Don't Check, which will allow either version without flagging any inconsistencies. After making all the changes we'd like to make, we click OK and return to our document. Now we can see there are many more things flagged for us to review. However, we can also see that there are some things which are not flagged for us to review, even though there are still areas we might want to correct. Here I'm thinking specifically about the masculine pronoun paired with plaintiff in the second to last sentence. In addition, we can see at least one suggested correction which is probably wrong. Microsoft Word wants us to replace expectation damages with expected damages. These errors show us that although our proofreading work can become much easier with customized grammar and refinement settings, we should still take the time to give our work a detailed and critical read before submitting it. I hope this technique has been helpful for you and your progression as a legal writer. If you have any questions or topic suggestions, please leave them in the comments and I will address them as I can. Thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day.